factors, he says, that really motivate people to excellence, to go above and beyond, to have really fulfilling lives and to do wonderful things. So the first is autonomy. Autonomy means I get to control. I get to choose. And he's discovered, well, not just him, but he's looked at research over the last, I think, 80 years, 90 years, that's talked about that the more control I have over how I do something, the better I feel about it. So, for example, if you're given a task, and someone says, so here's your task, and you need to do it this way, and this way, and this way, because that's the way that I like it best. But we're totally different personality styles, right? For one, she's smart. A different kind of smart than me. So she would have a strategy that would work totally differently, much better for her. But if she has to do it my way, it's not nearly as fun, not nearly as effective. So being able to choose how she does it. One of the key principles is get rid of as many of the directions as you can. You still have to do some, like we have to have this done by Friday. If you're on payroll, trust me, you've got to get things done at a certain time, or there's a lot of unhappy people. Whatever it might be. If you're working with students, if you're working, having to repair a major problem in a facility, there's often a really tight time pressure. But there's a lot of choices about how you do it. And maybe how you prioritize it. The more choices you have about it, the more people tend to be motivated to do it. Otherwise, if you have to always do it the exact same way, you get bored. You feel like a robot. So mastery is that type of thing that when you work on it, it doesn't feel like work. You enjoy it, you put in extra time just because it feels good. It's that thing that you do because you care about it, because you want to do it. It may not even be a project or an activity that's that exciting to most people. For example, the world's largest encyclopedia, created exclusively by volunteers. Anybody know what that is? Wikipedia. So when he first came up with this idea and he went out and told people about it, they said, you're crazy. First of all, that's not going to work because who's going to waste their time doing something that they don't get any money from? What's the point of it? Part of the reason they do that is because they get to put what they really like, what they really care about. They can spend time on it. They can work on it. They can go on there and you get experts from all over the world constantly putting all their information on there. And some people care so much about it, such a sense of mastery, they're going to go in and just fact check it. Is this one right? Is it not? And if enough people say it's not right, it gets taken off. Enough people say it's right, it has weight to it. Why do they do all this? They don't get paid a cent. Because it feels good. It takes that sense of mastery. And everybody has things like that, whether you feel like a total master at it or you just really find it, you enjoy doing it. You do it for its own sake. So humor. I enjoy so much that process and mastering that skill that one of my hobbies is making strangers laugh. I go to the store, I go to the restaurant, I walk down the street, and it's just a game. And someone once asked me, said, so how often are you successful? I said, probably about 95, 98% of the time I get people to laugh. Getting higher. Well, what about that 5%? I'm like, so what? Who cares? It's the 95% and the fact that it goes up. Then I'm probably about 98%. Same thing, when you master something, you can use it, you can become the go-to person around that. People like that. They want to learn from you. It's helpful. One of the really cool things about mastery is that we're so different. We have such different ways of approaching things. And it's exciting to find out how someone's different than you. So Michael, my business partner, loves research. I hate it. He loves it. And there's certain, I love making really cool PowerPoints. Yeah, he's okay. Where he can do Excel spreadsheets and have a great time with it. Whereas me is like pulling fingernails. So guess what? We divvy it up. Why not? Why not do things we're really good at that we enjoy doing? So as you're listening to other people talk about things that they're mastering, I go, wow, that's great that they're great at that. Or that they love doing that. And one of the key things when you work on a team of people is saying, wow, what is this person great at? How can I enable them to do more of what they really like to do? What are ways that I can offer to do what I really like to do? More of. Because the more of your day you spend doing what you like, the better for everybody. So that's a nice piece. So I'd be curious to hear some examples of a project or an activity where you feel that sense of mastery or you enjoy it like that. Who's willing to share one?
It's you.
Yes. Oh, you rock.
Actually, I like music.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's very soothing.
Mm-hmm.
I actually like to do karaoke and
Nice.
just get up and just have fun with it. And as I was telling Jackie, at the end of the night, I feel happy, peaceful, just feel like I released my inhibition.
Wow.
It's a great thing.
You just described that sense of mastery so beautifully. What it feels like, and think about it, most people are terrified to do karaoke. For her, it's like bliss. Totally in the zone. It's a great example of doing it. I like public speaking, but karaoke, you kind of have to force me up there. Everybody's different.
You don't want to sit down.
No, you don't want to sit down. It's the mastery piece again, where you feel it. You probably, like your voice comes and it feels good to you. When my voice sings and people wince, I get reluctant to sing anymore. But that's the beautiful thing is, they don't have to be the same. That's part of why I correct people from saying you to no, you, yourself. For you experience it this way. Everybody's different, unique. That's a great thing to know about yourself. Who else has mastery they're willing to share? Something, activity you really feel good about, you like to do.
Diagnosing things.
Yeah. Like,
Solving problems.
yeah. For you, it's probably like, yeah, this is great. Give me a good, meaty problem that I get to diagnose, figure out what it is, and come up with the answer. Where some people would say, oh, that just makes my head spin. I don't even want to think about it. That's great. It's really good to know where people are really excited about something, where it gets them passionate. Particularly if you really like it and you can tell your boss, you can tell your colleagues, this is the kind of thing I really like to do. I notice that you're really good at doing that. Is there any way we can swap, like Michael and I do sometimes? It's very helpful. Particularly because, you know what, no matter how hard I work at Excel Spreets, I will never be as good as Michael. Because he has a passion for it. He spends all this time figuring out how to do things. So why? Why bother trying to waste too much time with it? Saying back and forth. I can make PowerPoint sing really fast. He's like, how do you do it so quickly? I'm just throw things together. It's like an art form. Where some people are like, oh, it's drudgery. I hate it. And problem solving, you put me in front of my car, I'm like, okay, which mechanic should I hire? Right? That's about as far as my problem solving goes. So there you go. That's part of why the world works, is we have so many different skill sets. So let's hear one more. Who else is willing to share one? Something that you have that same feeling. Yes?
I like helping people with computers. It's satisfying feeling to know that I help them.
That's fantastic. And we need people like this, don't we? I do, desperately. Yeah, so that's, again, we're all different, and that's a wonderful thing. And it's easy, by the way. It's human nature to say, oh, I wish I could fix things. What's wrong with me? We can waste a lot of times beating ourselves up for what we don't like to do, what we're not good at doing. Instead of saying, what do I have mastery in? What do I really get excited about? Enjoy that, celebrate it. It's all about what can I do that's really great and how do I get it even better? The incredible thing about mastery is you constantly get better and better. You don't ever want to stop. Why would you? You always want to get better at it because it's fun. It feels good. And you're willing to do the drudgery it takes sometimes to get there because your passion drives you. That's the beautiful thing about mastery. In purpose, it's feeling like you're part of a larger thing, something that gives you're part of it, it gives meaning to you. Now, everyone here is part of a larger purpose. We were talking about before, knowledge is power. You're part of an institution that helps people gain knowledge, skills, hopefully the discipline, right, to execute, put the knowledge into action. So that's the nice piece. But for some people, that purpose is going to be more appealing than others, where somebody else, it might be all about helping that one next person you're talking to. That's what you love to do. So purpose. I talked about being on the board of directors for Vital Cycles. That's a powerful sense of purpose for me. We talked about earlier, a couple of us were saying, we're always changing the world, all the time. Little bits and pieces, the parts that we touch, might as well be changing it for a positive reason. And in Vital Cycles, my sense of purpose is, I am helping people improve their lives and the way they treat their children. Helping break the cycle of violence sometimes, things like that. It's very fulfilling for me. For some people, that wouldn't mean much to them. Something else fulfills their purpose. We're all unique. There's no wrong answers as long as there's a right answer that is positive for you. If you don't find anything fulfilling about your job, make it up. No, just kidding. Something else in your life that you find really fulfilling. And if you know what, honestly, if you don't find anything fulfilling in your job, maybe think, what else can I do here at the university that would have more of a sense of purpose for me? Purpose is one of those things that we feel very strongly about what we feel good about, and it's easy to judge other people's. So I want to encourage you to realize that there's a lot of right ways to have purpose, and that's very important. And again, that's because when you have the right balance, but different types of things that drive people, then you can have a successful university. So be curious to hear 2 or 3 thoughts on that. What is it that you find gives you a sense of purpose? Yes?
I work in academics and I like helping students,
Mm-hmm.
That come in, that are confused, that need some help figuring out the ins and outs and accomplish their goals, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
That's what I like.
That's great. So she's part of the larger whole of helping the students individually, but helping the whole student body feel better about what they're doing and having things come more easily. That's wonderful. I would suspect people that are drawn to work at a university usually is because they have that sense of purpose. Want to help the students along that process. We've talked a lot about, from Daniel Pink's book about drive in terms of the surprising truth about what it motivates us. And by the way, fear does motivate us. But what fear mostly motivates us to do is to avoid things, not necessarily to perform at a much higher level. And if you're driven by fear to perform your job, usually what it is, I'm going to do this to the point where I don't get hurt, not to the point of excellence. Does that make sense? So fear is there, and it's an obvious motivator, but it doesn't get people to the highest level of performance. Matter of fact, the greater the fear, the less these factors are involved. So it's one of those interesting challenges, is because it's such an easy gut reaction, like the thumb game. All right, you're not working hard enough? Let me scare you. And people go, wow, this is great, boss. You terrified me with losing my job. I'm going to go work so much harder for you. No, it's usually, how do I find the loophole? How do I figure it out? How do I hide all my mistakes? All that type of thing. Fear actually drives a lot of productivity down because of that. That's the interesting challenge. Even, by the way, in the Army, they realize this. In boot camp, 10 years ago if you went, you've all seen the movies, right? The theory was break them down, build them back up again. Call them names, humiliate them, all that kind of stuff. Well, they realized they've been doing this for years because it felt like it was the right thing to do, but it wasn't working very well. There's a psychology professor, Dr. Seligman, who started in about 2009, 2010, what's called positive psychology. He has been hired by the Army to train all 49,000 boot camp, drill sergeants how to use positive psychology. So somebody came up after one of my presentations and said, this is so true because I went to boot camp 10 years ago and it was just like you saw in the movies. My nephew just came back and he said it was totally different. Now they're focusing on camaraderie, teamwork, put your heart in it for your country. It's much more about positive, why you do it, why you care. You're developing somebody who cares about it. They do it because they care about something, not because they're afraid or broken down. It's a very different result. The U.S. Army's figured this out. And many, many companies are starting to figure it out as well. And some universities.